Hey everybody, Jake here with TrendSpider to go over a new technical analysis series video. Today we are going to be going over the Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP. Now this is something that is not new on the platform, but we have implemented some new additions over the last couple weeks. So the first thing that I want to mention is the Anchored VWAP comes from, the VWAP is one thing. The Anchored VWAP allows you to anchor the volume weighted average price from a particular point in time, which is how Brian Shannon teaches this particular strategy. So in this case, what you can see here is I've essentially anchored the volume weighted average price from this March 18th capitulation point. This is essentially when everyone was stopped out who had stops below, and this is really when the tide turned for the bulls. So notice here, as I've anchored this volume weighted average price, you can see that the price action does not always perfectly respect this area. So instead of using a precise line, what we can now do with our offsets feature, and I talk about this a lot on Twitter, so if you always hear us say, with a 2.5% offset, what that means is if I go to properties, and I go to Anchored VWAP, you'll see we have this new feature called bands. When I turn on the percentage bands, you'll see you have 4 different levels that you can choose from. So in this case, these levels are Fibonacci levels. So we're looking at the 0.618%, the 1.236%. However, let's just make this an even number. So let's say that we want to offset we want a top offset of that Anchored VWAP by 2.5%. So that means there's going to be an Anchored VWAP 2.5% above the middle one. And then we're going to have one that's 2.5% below the original Anchored VWAP. And what you'll see here is we have what's more of a kind of a highlighter rather than just one line. And notice here how all of a sudden all of these previous times that were not tested at exactly the Anchored VWAP are now included in this particular Anchored VWAP touch. So you can see here, this is a very strong Anchored VWAP. It's been tested multiple times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's really held every single time. So this allows us to go and have a margin of error around this line, similar to how our sensitivity feature works on trend lines and moving averages, and this really helps you get a better idea of an overall area that the price can hit or a zone rather than just saying I'm only going to buy this if it hits this exact line, because that rarely happens. Notice even here it didn't actually test this exact line. There was a wick here that essentially kind of pierced this Anchored VWAP and then reversed. So there's really no such thing as absolutes in the market. You're always going to have some type of margin of error. So that is something that's really powerful. If you want, you can go in, you can change these colors. So for example, the back opacity, let's say since this has acted as a level of interest for buyers, we'll go and make this green. And then we can change our line color, let's say, to just a neutral black color. In this case, you can see now we've got this green area, and you can really personalize this and make this, however your style is. Some people will just keep it blue. I personally like to make this green, and let's say we anchor another VWAP from the top here, and I want to make this red. And notice that we're really right at that Anchored VWAP right now. I'll do this percentage band. Let's just do 1% above, 1% below, and then 0 and 0 for level 3 and 4. So now I apply this, and what I can do here is I can make this red to know that this has been an area of interest for sellers. So when I go in here and I click the red, we're now changing that color to that background color to red, and we'll make this, let's say, red as well. So now we've got kind of a demand area below, a supply area above, using the Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP with these offsets. Now if we go to the properties, you'll see that they're not just percentage offsets. Let's say that you want to use the volume by price ribbon. This is something that's really powerful because essentially it allows you to see, let me just redraw that. It allows you to see the thickness of the Anchored VWAP. Notice how the Anchored VWAP right here is just one thickness. Now, if we go and anchor the volume by price from this bottom point, you'll see that there's quite a bit of volume with the anchored volume by price in this particular area. And I'll highlight this. Notice that there's a big chunk of volume here. And so what the anchored volume by volume weighted average price ribbon does, it will actually show you the thickness. Notice how this anchored VWAP gets thicker here because there's more volume. So the thickness is a function of how much this volume by price is showing kind of a volume shelf here. So this allows you to kind of see, okay, where's the anchored VWAP, in conjunction or in confluence with a big chunk of volume on the volume by price. So this was created by Brian Shannon. This is something that we implemented for him, and we do plan on making this even easier to see and more kind of like these areas that are bigger, they're going to be more obvious. And this is something that really allows you to consolidate the chart, because now we don't even have to use the anchored volume by price. We already know that this particular zone right here has a big chunk of the volume below. So that is something that's really powerful. Another thing that's nice here, if we go to a different band, you can do standard deviation bands, which essentially are pretty much, as it says, standard deviation bands around this line. So you can see here, you can change these the deviation length, and then you've got your Fibonacci levels that will automatically pick up. If you don't want the fib levels on there, just take them off, and you can apply this, and you'll see that you've got this lower band here. So this is something that really allows you to add some standard deviation to the actual anchored VWAP. So all in all, this is a very new way to use the anchored VWAP. There's a lot of different ways to implement the anchored VWAP. It's not just me manually doing it. Right here, I decided to anchor from this capitulation point. But if we go to properties, you'll see, let's just create an anchored VWAP here. And instead, let's go to maybe the month to date anchored VWAP. And we'll see here, we're only a few trading days into the month of July, and the system will automatically anchor from the start of the month. Let's say that we want to do year-to-date anchored VWAP. We can do year-to-date here. We can click this, and notice how well the price action is actually respecting this year-to-date anchored VWAP. You had a little bit of a pullback here, but you did have quite a few days where this really acted as support and also resistance when we were breaking out. So the ability to automate the anchoring process is crucial. And these are some of the ways that Brian likes to anchor: quarter to date, month to date, week to date, sometimes from the most recent gap, the highest volume, the highest high, the highest low. These are all ways that Brian implements the anchored VWAP, not on every single chart for every single option here, but these are all different ways that Brian, who's an absolute pro and a veteran in this industry, uses this very powerful feature. So there are a ton of ways to use the new Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP additions. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and make sure to watch this video multiple times so you can really get a grasp on how to use this, as we do use this feature a ton on our Twitter posts and our charts that we do share with the community. So hopefully this video helped. Please like and subscribe if you want to continue to see these videos. We do these videos every couple weeks when we have updates. And happy trading to everyone, and thank you so much for watching.